You've probably seen this clip before.
You should kill yourself now.
But despite how famous the memes of him are, few people know the whole story of the man behind them. Known online as
LowTierGod.
He claims his real name is DeLuian Sparrow, although his real name is more than likely Dale. And he's probably the funniest fighting game player of all time.
Where the fuck's he's at in this?
Born in South Central Los Angeles on the 19th of November, 1984, or 1990 if he's to be believed, Dale had a difficult childhood, with his father abandoning the family. While he doesn't hold that against his dad, he does resent that neither he nor his brother were given the attention necessary to become athletes.
That's why I'll never ever forgive my dad, period. Because not only did you fuck up with me, you fucked up with my brother too. My brother is like 6'6". I mean, Dan, you could have coached one of us into making you some paper.
Under his mom's care, he was kept out of public school and sent to a private Christian school instead, presumably to try and keep him away from the presence of gangs in public schools in South Central Los Angeles. While he did effectively avoid that danger, he walked right into another one. When he was between 5 and 7 years old, he claimed to have been molested by his teacher's teenage daughter. Surprisingly, he describes this very casually, trying his best to imply that it wasn't all that traumatic.
Basically, there was lots of females that fondled with me when I was a kid, but I'm not the type of person that's gonna snitch. I knew something was right, and that happened in private school, man. Shit happened in private schools, but I only know about the heterosexual shit.
It's pretty shocking to see a guy spinning this kind of terrible childhood trauma into proof that he's super straight, but as we'll see later on, this kind of absurd thing is par for the course with LowTierGod. Later on in school, he was often picked on for being unusually tall and a bit of a nerd. But besides that, not much is known about his early life. While he made his first YouTube account in 2006, he remained in obscurity for a good while after, as it would take years before he attained notoriety. But long before he was getting in hot water online, he was doing so in real life. In 2005, when he would have been 20 years old, his then 17-year-old girlfriend filed a restraining order against him for domestic violence prevention. In the documents, she alleged, Dale said that I'm a slut and that he wants to kill me and everyone around me, and that if he doesn't do it, he'll have someone do it for him, and that I better watch my back. She also requested that he lose the right to purchase a gun due to his anger issues. Fortunately, it doesn't seem like anything happened after this restraining order was requested. A couple of years later, he was arrested and eventually charged with a felony for receiving stolen goods, although he got off with 3 years of probation after staying in jail for a little over a month. However, this sentence made it hard for him to get a job, so he enrolled into college, where he pursued a degree in health and fitness and a bachelor's degree in business. Or at least, that's what he listed on his LinkedIn profile, but a lot of people have been known to lie on LinkedIn, so he may or may not have those degrees. Speaking of his LinkedIn, he also claims here that from 2006 onwards, he was working as a freelance actor and took part in numerous media, including reality TV shows, although I haven't been able to find any record of that. As far as I can tell, all that he really had to his name was his YouTube channel, then under the username Sparrow25, which foreshadowed the name of his eventual channel, DeLuian Sparrow. Keep that name in mind. Now, on his main channel, he uploaded videos of himself playing Street Fighter games, mainly Street Fighter 4, with the main gimmick being that he picked low-tier characters that most competitive players tended to ignore and find a new way to win with them. In 2012, he also started working at Goodwill as a donation processing volunteer, presumably out of necessity, and because that's all he could really get with the felony charge on his record. But it doesn't seem like working at a charitable organization really gave him a more empathetic spirit.
While all of you are in final round, this is what I'm doing. All of you.
However, in late 2013, Dale got his first big break when he uploaded a video titled, "A Message to Boogie2988 and His Wonderful Fans."
I don't give a about the aftermath from any of you Boogie fans that feel sorry for this greasy, you fat, disgusting, ass-smelling, blob, cheese-drinking, Crisco bathing, lard gargling, calorie thieving, cook on a George Foreman grill just to drink out the drip tray. I know there's gonna be a lot of people out there calling me a bully. Well, guess what? I'm not. I just don't feel sorry for fat people, especially fat who sit there all day, gorge and eat, and make money for doing absolutely absolutely nothing.
Unfortunately, LowTierGod was too ahead of his time on the boogie hate. If he dropped this in 2020, he would probably be a millionaire right now. As you can see from the like to dislike ratio, people weren't too fond of his extremely fat-phobic rhetoric. And just like that began Dale's eternal villain arc. But however much negative feedback he got for the boogie hate video, it wasn't really enough to kickstart his career, and for the following period, he continued to languish in obscurity. In another upload of his from the beginning of 2014, he even expressed resentment towards other YouTubers, including Boogie, who in Dale's opinion did not deserve any of the views he was getting.
I went to a couple pages. KSI is some black dude from the UK that just yells on fucking camera and plays FIFA, and this dude gets damn near 1 million views per fucking video.
Another one of his targets was fellow gamer Darkside Phil.
DSP, some old dude who talks on random games that people shouldn't even be watching. Kingdom Hearts and racing games and all kind of corny shit.
Whom has since been deemed the white version of LowTierGod, or vice versa, depending on which one you think is the original. This perception came from the fact that both of them made careers out of gaming, despite not being very good at video games, and regularly blaming the game's developers whenever they lost. Although honestly, I think he really surpassed DSP on that front, since as far as I know, no matter how much DSP sucked at the games he played, he still kept trying until he beat them fair and square, while LowTierGod became known for cheating on single-player games to beat them.
Only cheat on your mom. Made her believe we was in a fake relationship so I could backshot her creamy, wet, sloppy, big baggy, meaty pussy.
But whenever anyone brought up the similarities between him and DSP, Dale became unusually angry. Well, it's not unusual for Dale to get unusually angry, but you get the point.
But I'm warning you, for the last time, any of you motherfuckers call me that black DSP shit in person, it is a wrap for you. Because as soon as I go into anger mode, my speed twitches faster, I'm stronger.
Now, I'm generally all for toxic gaming and classic Black Ops 2 lobbies with people insulting each other. However, it was clear that Dale's issues were much more deep-seated. And if you think that he's just playing it up for the sake of content, he's not. He's actually like this 100% of the time. Noticing how easy it was to get him fired up, trolls began deliberately seeking out ways to further enrage him. For example, whenever he knew he was going to lose a match, he would just leave it before it could count on his stats. So as a result, people started reporting him, which eventually got him a ban from Xbox Live. Now, I suspect that you can probably jerry-rig Xboxes to circumvent a ban and make a new account, but that's probably too complicated for him, so instead, he just bought another Xbox whenever that happened. Which, by the way, happened 4 separate times. And of course, each time, he was thoroughly dominated and humiliated by his trolls. He went to the nearest GameStop and bought himself a new Xbox. All because he's addicted to raging and fighting games. By 2014, Dale had accumulated a little bit of clout in the niche of fighting games and decided to go up against Viscant in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. According to LowTierGod, they played a set, which meant they competed until one of them got to 5 wins, and LowTierGod got there first. However, Viscant insisted that they kept on playing, which eventually caused the score to go from 5-3, favoring LowTierGod, to 20-6, favoring Viscant. This caused Dale to act out as he usually does, insulting people in his videos. In one upload, titled "Why Most Gamers Are Single," he uses Viscant's picture as an example of an unwashed and unattractive gamer.
You forgot to eat. You even forget to take a piss. Keeping up with those habits continuously will have you looking like this guy.
And upon discovering what he'd done, Viscant got into a little bit of drama with Dale on Twitter, during which he accused him of not playing actually low-tier characters and winning with them, which was basically his entire gimmick, before going on to call him the Black DSP. The beef was really heating up, and as a result, a grudge match on Street Fighter 4 was called on October 24th, 2014, to finally settle their problems, and it grew to be a pretty large event, being fully televised and accompanied with interviewers. Initially, Viscant gave a solo interview in a crowd of cheering fans, discussing the beef between him and LowTierGod, and things got pretty heated.
That's a bitch move. He said I wouldn't call him that to his face. Wherever you are, you're a bitch.
After a little back and forth, it came time to actually play, and while LowTierGod did his best, it just wasn't good enough to clinch the win, with Viscant winning by 10-6 and proceeding to tell Dale to go back to the McDonald's he worked at, along with other positive words.
There's gonna come a point when you forget about what happened, and you're gonna want to come back at me, and you're gonna want to wash the taste of my dick out of your mouth.
The beef was over, and it should have been officially settled, but Dale wasn't going to take it lying down. A few weeks after the fight, he stirred up drama again, with a video titled Addressing the Internet, which would eventually become a series for him. In the first half, he put forth a variety of copes for his loss, claiming that Viscant had 2 people coaching him, despite Dale also having the same amount of people coaching him, and claiming that a 10-6 victory wasn't good enough for someone who plays video games professionally. Then again, Street Fighter was LowTierGod's main focus, and not a game that Viscant was even particularly familiar with, and he still won, without it even getting close. If Dale was so confident, he could go play games professionally himself, but given that he refused to bet money on his performance, it's likely that this is just him blowing hot air again. The conclusion of this match went viral on YouTube, now sitting at a whopping 6 million views, along with re-uploads getting similar amounts, and a comprehensive review of the situation from YouTuber Crobecat also getting 6 million. While Dale frequently gets called the Black DSP, in some ways he's more like Wings of Redemption. He could have just taken the L and moved on with his life, but instead, he was as sore of a loser as possible and did everything in his power to make himself look bad from that point onward. And that's not even mentioning the strange complexes around race and masculinity he developed as a consequence of getting destroyed by Viscant on Street Fighter 4.
Because when the Europeans came on the ships and seen
African ass bouncing and tits jiggling like National Geographic,
tall statures, thick thighs, they was blown away. Never seen bodies like that until they landed in Africa.
You the fuck is what's wrong with society, you dumb, ignorant black? This is why black people are last in place. Because of dumb, ignorant, retarded, worthless pieces of black.
Despite how obnoxious and psychotic Dale eventually became, at the time, the only content about him was making fun of his gaming skills. Stuff like "This is how you don't play" compilations, where people picked the funniest highlights of his videos and uploaded them. Unfortunately, these videos now only exist via re-uploads since, again, exactly like DSP, Dale obsessively looked for these and copyright striked them. When his copyright strategy proved unsuccessful, he threatened to start recording his streams with no mic or camera on, unless the offending channels were taken down. But of course, that was just another empty threat. A year later, a now 29-year-old Dale started dating a girl named Elena, whom he allegedly started interacting with when she was still 17. She occasionally showed up during his streams, and his treatment of her was pretty poor to say the least.
You're not putting hands on no one.
Tell me that again, dude.
What you gonna do?
Tell me what the f I'm gonna do. I'm not f***ing around.
You're not putting hands on no one.
Dude, get the f off my stream, dude. Seriously. I'm not playing.
She'll become much more important later on, but we do have to establish her as a character in the LowTierGod extended universe. Now, at some point in 2015, Dale graduated, although he continued to work at Goodwill, as his streams weren't nearly successful enough for him to do it professionally. Despite lacking a proper fan base, since a significant amount of his following was composed of his haters, he decided to start a clothing line called The Covenant in December of 2015, and it sold a grand total of 1 hoodie on its first day. Then in early 2016, he got banned on Xbox for the 5th and last time, so he finally switched over to PlayStation. Around this time, he was coincidentally matched against Darkside Phil in a ranked match, but since they were in Dale's territory, Street Fighter, even DSP knew that it was over from the moment it started.
Oh god. Will be determined here. Another Relento means another match I'm gonna get effing bodied, dude. Every f***ing match with Relento I get bodied now. It never fails.
They should have competed on who can get into more debt. Would have been a much more riveting contest, but I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. Now, I would say that Dale's Twitch was going downhill at this point, but really, his online career had failed to launch from the beginning. He got barred from getting a subscription button, allegedly due to his trolls viewbotting his streams, leading him to resort to making money in alternative ways, such as selling mod chips to his viewers. This is against Twitch TOS, and as a result, he got his second ban. And I didn't mention the first ban because the reason for it was never given. Soon after, he came back, although it would probably be better if he had just stayed gone, since he walked right into a 50-loss streak against a streamer. And that streamer was named Pun Is Here. Dale had been saying that he wanted to fight against a good Chun-Li player, and upon getting what he asked for, he floundered for an hour and a half, complaining about it the entire time.
Can't win with a fucking real character. You need a character like this, bitch.
Not satisfied, he went above and beyond sore loser status by calling on his viewers to attack Pun, leading to another Twitch ban, this time being indefinite. And from here, he finally decided to give up on Twitch and move over to YouTube, making a video about his ban, claiming he had been unfairly targeted by malicious trolls.
Everyone who watches my stream, you guys know for a fact that my stream is
just crowded with trolls. People have done numerous things to see me fail.
In order to stifle the troll activity in his chat, he set up some new rules for his streams, including, but not limited to, a ban on the use of salt emojis, censoring names, especially troll names, as well as Kappa names in chat. He also demanded $10 to turn his camera on, and if he didn't get at least $20 within the first hour of his stream, he would just turn it off. Now that he had revamped his entire operation to prevent anyone from trolling his streams, he could finally be a regular streamer who didn't rage and hurl insults at people's mothers. And finally, now he could focus on the game. Of course, I'm being sarcastic here. Instead, nothing changed at all. If anything, it actually got worse from here on out. Dale challenged the Super Smash Bros. Community to a Street Fighter match, arguing that no one who plays that game could beat him because they are plebes. I think he was trying to say plebs here, short for plebeian or plebeian, but his anger mode prevented him from seeing clearly, which I'm understanding of.
Like National Geographic.
But Dale had the misfortune of having Anti, a Super Smash Bros. Player at the time, take him up on the challenge. The two matched a few days later, and Anti beat LowTierGod 2-1, followed by another game, which Anti won by 2-0. LTG took this loss pretty badly, accusing his opponent of being a coward for not doing the full best of 5 games, and for using the character Ken, which LowTierGod said was overpowered, and for playing against him at 3:40 AM when he was sleepy, thus making it unfair. But that wasn't all. Dale proceeded to go on a wild tirade, blocking anyone who even mentioned Anti, going as far as to call him racist slurs like tar roach, and saying things like, "This is why I don't deal with blacks." He made a whole video about it, and then challenged him to an anonymous match.
When you're an alpha and you're dealing with betas, you're dealing with guys who want to run off on the plug. You're the type of guy who would sucker punch somebody, run, and claim you beat them up, claim you whooped their ass.
And if that wasn't enough, he was so angry that he also released a diss track.
Resembling a Zulu, page 55, geographics. You're the black guy that they would hire for demographics. Grew from streets of race 3, had it inside my temporal lobe. Skin be the same color as a bowl of Cocoa Krispies though.
If losing to every established competitive gamer he ever managed to match up against wasn't bad enough, a few months later, he randomly matched against a 14-year-old kid who, by a stroke of fate, happened to be recording his gameplay. Even though the recording is from the perspective of the kid, we can easily figure out how LowTierGod was feeling during it.
I bet he's mad. Yo, I clutched it. Oh!
This clip of a child beating him got over 500,000 views, leading Dale to seethe on his Facebook page, demanding that his fans put 200 dislikes on it or he wouldn't use his camera or mic during his streams anymore. Keep in mind, this all happened when the video only had 13,000 views, so I think this was his attempt at keeping this L undercover and not letting it get any more traction on YouTube. However, if that was the objective, it clearly failed. He also made a comment on the video, challenging the uploader to a 10-round match, which never happened. He even did a reaction video to it where he calls the 14-year-old a fat scrub who got lucky. But Dale kept trucking along, trying to improve his skills while streaming and attempting to make a living. And this leads us to December of 2016, when Dale found himself matched up against a top 8 player in Street Fighter, Lee Joe, where they would both stream their match live. Unsurprisingly, LowTierGod got rolled and smoked to the tune of a 1-4 loss. But what's really entertaining is how the two behaved during their match. While LowTierGod seethed, Joe was having the time of his life and even pulled the classic LowTierGod move of leaving the match right at the end.
Dude kept spamming a move that was +3 over and over again simply because it was lag.
As they continued to play, Dale grew increasingly angry at his own inability to stop Joe from throwing him.
You know what, I'm gonna rage quit on this dude for fun. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna rage quit on this dude, you scrub.
As you can see here, he was threatening to rage quit the match long before it was even close to its final round because he knew that the inevitable was coming.
Worried about what the f***'s going on for season 2. You're not making it to top 8 Evo next year. Blow it, broad. That's sus connection. Mic muted.
Oh, I got a headache.
While things were fairly standard for him in the streaming world, 2016 was one of the lowest points in his personal life. He'd been banned from Twitch for a few months, and the loss of streaming revenue was really getting to him. That summer, he did start a new series called Critical Times, and in the first video, he reveals some of his vulnerability, opening up about his financial struggles.
I live paycheck to paycheck. I'll show you guys how much my check was later, but just know that every time I get paid, it's going to another CEO, another company, and I'm fucked for the next 2 weeks with bullshit unless I get donations on YouTube, sell some t-shirts, or, you know, shit like that. Trying to get these headshots, they cost $240, but it's hard to save up when you don't make shit.
Now, while it was obviously fun for a lot of trolls to disparage him for how he behaves during games, there were some elements of LowTierGod that were genuine, although they rarely came through. One could even empathize with him talking about struggling to get jobs, even though he had a couple of college degrees, something that a lot of young people experience. And later that year, he also expressed being sick of getting made fun of for working at Goodwill. So he quit and instead got a job as an assistant manager at GNC, a supplement company. For some reason, he also claimed that this job would help him on his way to become an actor. I'm not really sure what made him think that, but, you know, who am I to say? Regardless, things seem to be looking up. Dale had just reached the 10,000 subscriber milestone on YouTube.
Motivated, determined, resilient, confident, mentally untouchable. Notice I didn't say physical because no man is. Unfortunately, our physiology limits us anything past that.
Don't get me wrong, he definitely should be happy, but making a motivational video when you just got your second job at age 33 may be going a bit overboard, but hey, I'm still happy for him.
I walk a path that was aligned for me since the beginning of time. The Creator gave me life through abundance, allowing the correct blend of souls to cross paths, but not only to make eye contact, but to share passion with one another.
Unfortunately, his satisfaction wore off very quickly as his goals of becoming an actor weren't coming to fruition, and he was frustrated with his job, saying that it had the dumbest management ever. He also claimed that he had 3 jobs, which a lot of people doubt is true. But most importantly, he was in exactly the same spot as he'd always been when it came to his career as an online personality, losing games and whining about it with creative racial epithets. Here, we have him attacking Brazilian detractors by attaching an image of Brazilian natives, saying that his mic and cam would be off during the stream due to how upset he was. His hatred for Brazilians wasn't limited to this instance either.
Mods, ban anybody speaking Portuguese. Let's get these jungle fuckers out of here. This is an English stream, motherfucker. How the fuck you gonna be from Brazil and your computer in a hut talking shit? Get the fuck out of here.
In another instance, he said that if someone beat him with Balrog, the Street Fighter character, he was going to rage quit no matter what. And due to how often he got banned for the stuff he said online, he began using the word rog as a derogatory term for black people, usually in the context of black people losing their temper.
Ooh, I got
While his statements about black people could often be seen as exaggerated for comedic value or a consequence of blind rage during gaming, it does slowly become clear that Dale genuinely resented ROGs, and perhaps had some racial self-hatred. For example, he once made a post on his Facebook page talking about how much he disliked crude blacks, and instead had a preference for what he referred to as sophisticated black people. What he probably wasn't counting on was that his own sister would see this post and reply, pointing out that she had offered him work with better pay than his job and helped him look for apartments when he needed to move, before saying that he was responsible for his own life circumstances, mentioning that he ruined his own credit score. In his reply, he said, "You're dead to me. See how messy you are? Focus on getting the GED before you address me again. Before I blast your black, bitter, chicken-headed in this post." She then fired back, saying that she made more money than him in tips, and claimed that he'd gotten his degrees while he was living off of a girl he was dating, who eventually put him in jail. In the middle of all of this, Dale once again changed his streaming rules and started charging $20 to turn the camera on, as well as $50 to stream for over an hour. If anyone made the mistake of expressing disapproval of anything he did or said during the stream, he would just ban them, regardless of whether they were a troll or someone who had previously donated and helped him out. 2017 is when Dale began rapidly accelerating his descent into madness, which was punctuated by his beef with fellow Street Fighter player Broly Legs. Broly was known for suffering from a medical condition which caused the muscles in his arms and legs to be severely underdeveloped. As a consequence, he played Street Fighter using only his mouth. But despite his obvious physical setbacks, from 2013 to 2017, he was the #1 Chun-Li player in the world. He even placed 25th in a Street Fighter V tournament with over 1,400 players. His popularity in the Street Fighter community was such that he got a promotional video on the official Street Fighter YouTube channel where he got to tell his life story.
It has its bumps here and there, but it's not unwelcoming at all. You know, there's always a small place for everyone in the community. Whatever game you learn. When I started learning Street Fighter, I learned through people telling me I was nothing, that I would never be good in this game. This and that. It really drove me. Yeah, they were my friends, but I needed that to encouraged me to be better.
And as with many unsuspecting players, he would eventually collide with Dale, and the result was funny and sad at the same time. Sometime in April, he and LowTierGod randomly matched, and in typical LowTierGod fashion, he lost the match and rage quit, all while throwing as many insults at Broly as possible. Before their match even started, he compared Broly to Krang, which is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles character that is an anthropomorphic brain in a mecha suit, obviously making fun of his disability. But naturally, Dale making fun of his disability made it that much more satisfying when the match came to its end.
I'm good, dude. I can't accept losses where I bodied you and you just get some fake shit on slobbering all over rollers and shit. I'm hella cool. You just didn't deserve that. I outplayed you, I bodied you, and you got lucky. That's not skill to me. That's not outplaying me. That doesn't mean you're better than me. I'll tell you what the lore is. Yeah, get that ass banned, bitch.
And while some people quickly rushed to Broly's defense, pointing out how low it was for LowTierGod to make fun of him for his disability, others maintained that the confrontation was fair. They felt that while Broly was physically handicapped, LowTierGod was mentally handicapped. Therefore, the odds weren't that bad. Broly tweeted out a screenshot of LowTierGod rage quitting, and at the same time also offered to help train him to get better at Street Fighter, which only helped to further enrage him.
I don't give a what that ugly ass slobbering half of a man is saying. I'm not gonna do anything to give that ugly worthless specimen anything to gain any type of notoriety to his pity name.
It's funny that he's saying this when Broly Legs had much more success as a competitive player than Dale ever did. And unfortunately in 2024, Broly did pass away, but we should never forget how we beat LowTierGod. Now Dale eventually wanted to clarify what happened, so he made a video explaining that he only felt comfortable laying into Broly because of what Broly had posted on Twitter. However, that's not really true, as LowTierGod was calling him Krang even before their match began, so this is just another excuse. Given how brazen he is during streams, I wish he would just embrace it instead of coming up with these fake apologies afterwards. It's not like anyone's falling for it anyway, he might as well just stick to being a dick. Now at this point, there was actually a period of time where Dale mostly kept himself out of trouble, mixing up his content and slightly moving away from the straightforward gameplay he was known for. For example, he did a reaction and commentary on the song Lift Yourself by Kanye West, which quickly became the most successful video on his channel. In 2018, he was then invited to take part in E-League The Challenger, which was a TV show where Street Fighter pros would compete against one another while living in the same house. He was the first to fight in the tournament against Rob TV, but despite talking himself up like he usually does, he lost the match 5-1. Now you may be inclined to think that this was another L for LTG, but in reality, this could be considered the first W in his competitive gaming career. Not because he won the game itself, but instead because he took the loss in stride.
He just gets up, and I don't see him talking smack. He's not raging. He's just a regular guy.
LowTierGod, nice try. However, that does put you out of the competition here at the Challenger House. Rob TV, you were safe another day, sir.
He also competed against another player named Giddy, and despite losing, the match ended on a pretty positive note, with the two not only shaking hands, but also hugging it out. However much people already hated him, LowTierGod is an entertaining guy. If he could just control his outbursts and try to get better at the game, instead of rage quitting whenever he found someone better than him, he actually would have a shot at becoming a competitive player and successful online personality.
Now what sucks, being the first one to be eliminated. But I'm still in the house with 6 other phenomenal players that I can learn a lot from and just level up my game overall.
Unfortunately, the period of peace didn't last for long, as Dale pretty quickly went right back to his old ways.
Going forward in my Street Fighter career, my plan is simply to attend more tournaments. As long as I continue to travel, experience things, I think that I have a huge definite shot of being that ultimate great Street Fighter player that I yearn to be.
In June of 2018, for reasons beyond human understanding, Twitch decided to express some mercy and actually unban Dale, and he triumphantly returned for one single day. Now I have to admit that this time the ban wasn't his fault. He had naively allowed donators' profile pictures to show up on the stream, and one creative guy made their profile picture a nude image and then donated to get themselves on the screen before proceeding to report the stream themselves for nudity, even though they had been the one to make it happen. Now Dale did eventually get his account back, but his standing on the website was iffy at best, as he was banned and unbanned a bunch of times. But at this point, something else was brewing in the LowTierGod fandom: speculation around his relationship. One day, Dale abruptly left his own stream for a moment, and he forgot to mute himself, which then allowed his entire audience to hear him arguing with his girlfriend, Elena. She was upset that Dale wouldn't be around during their 4-year anniversary, because he was going to attend that year's EVO.
It's not about forgetting. Usually EVO is in July. The only reason you've been bringing up that shit is for the simple fact that I'm going to goddamn EVO. I don't know why you would do this a day before. You're fucking inconsiderate ass fucking child.
Their relationship ended right around the same time, but it's worth noting here that 2018 was when their 4-year anniversary was going to take place, meaning they had apparently been together since 2014, a fact that's going to become relevant in a second here. In June of 2019, a YouTube channel by the name of LX Sniper released an expose about LTG, covering a lot of the things that I've mentioned up until this point. LowTierGod actually responded to Sniper on stream, during which he showed a photo of him and exposed their DMs, where he threatened to beat LX up if they ever met in real life. Surprisingly, LX actually accepted the challenge, giving away his address so Dale could fight him, but nothing really came of it. There were many similar instances of LowTierGod instigating fights he wasn't actually willing to carry out, such as when his former mod, Donovan, got mad at him for refusing to unmod someone who called him the N-word.
I won't just sit there and allow you to talk shit like that and not want to fight you or not want some type of physical confrontation. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to put your money where your mouth is, okay?
When Donovan challenged Dale to a boxing match, he never got a reply. But the drama wasn't just coming from the inside of Dale's community. Instead, outsiders were now paying attention to the story, which led June the King to take notice. June is a video essay or internet documentary channel kind of similar to what I do, and he had taken notice of LowTierGod, leading him to post a video about his life and story. Dale was not very happy with this video's existence, accusing June of re-uploading his content, which June just did not do. He actually made an informative documentary about him, which used a few clips of him. But LowTierGod didn't really care. He actually threatened to flag June. This basically caused a copyright battle to happen, culminating in LowTierGod threatening to sue June the King for his video, which he claimed was defamatory and included doxed information. This is pretty strange since June never even referred to LowTierGod by his real name. Instead, he called him by his online alias, Deluian Sparrow. But what he did include was LowTierGod's real date of birth, something that Dale had a history of being very insecure about. In fact, his campaign of pretending to be younger than he actually was even affected some of the biographical data websites, which list him as being born in 1990, which does not seem to be the case. But LowTierGod didn't just retaliate against June in defense. He also went on the offense by doxing June the King himself repeatedly over the course of 1 month, only stopping once Killer Keemstar stepped in.
So basically, Keemstar was just like popping in there to be like, hey, you know, like, we're watching you, dude. So thank you, Keemstar, for stopping my doxing.
But even after that, he continued to regularly threaten June with all kinds of violence.
Somebody like him would run from me in person, and he wouldn't be able to run from me because I would catch his pipsqueak ass, choke him out till he begged me for life. Then right on his last inch of breath, I would literally say, so you still gonna research me, huh? Like, no, then LTD, please, no, and I'm just still choking him while he got his laptop, while he deletes the video. We're gonna get that taken down. I'm not worried about it.
Ultimately, he failed in his mission of taking the video down, and no lawsuit ever came out of it. And as funny as a lawsuit like that would have been for Dale to have to just argue against June for things that he showed in his video to be true, ultimately it's probably for the best that another documentary channel didn't get a lawsuit against it. But LowTierGod was now more defeated than ever, and he really needed to take out his rage on something, anything. So in April of 2020, someone in the chat triggered him into producing one of his most iconic outbursts ever.
Your life literally is as valuable as a summer ant. I'm just gonna stump you. You're gonna keep coming back. I'm gonna seal up all my cracks. You're gonna keep coming back. Why? Because you keep smelling the syrup. You're gonna stay on my dick until you die. You serve no purpose in life. Your purpose in life is to be in my stream sucking on my daily. Your purpose in life is to be in that chat blowing it daily. Your life is nothing. You serve zero purpose. You should kill yourself now and give somebody else a piece of that oxygen and ozone layer that's covered up so that we can breathe inside this blue trapped bubble. Because what are you here for? To worship me?
In just under 1 minute, LowTierGod went from a failed streamer and competitive Street Fighter player to being a total meme.
That's all I gotta say. If you look in the mirror and hate yourself, love yourself. Yes, you should love yourself now. Yes, you should.
You said try to stuff crust? Well, listen. How about when I went... No, I'm joking.
Love yourself. That's all I gotta say. If you look in the mirror and hate yourself, love yourself. Yes, you should love yourself now.
This video is probably why you know about LowTierGod. It has been seen by everyone on the internet in one way, shape, or form, whether or not you even know who he is. A moment of him expressing sincere hatred and disgust with a chatter who had been annoying him ultimately led to the most viral moment of him ever. But that didn't mean that Dale was going to stop and smell the roses. Instead, he got matched against a player called Blast, and as soon as he started losing, you can probably guess what happened.
That's exactly why I got this dude blacklisted. He ain't trans. He didn't get his slit. He ain't got the balls for that. If you're a real tranny, a real transsexual, cross-dresser, whatever the fuck you want to call it, get your slit. How you gonna go 50%? If you really about that life, get your split like a fucking hot dog, let them tuck it in, make a pussy and a clitoris out of your dick.
Now obviously, Sero took issue with this, tweeting out about how they thought LowTierGod was a bad influence on his chatters. To be honest, I think the real issue is anyone who's allowing their kids to watch LowTierGod streams, given how he often responds to trolls by doing something that I can only describe as gay erotica rants.
I'm gonna pull out a big giant syringe full of black sperm and shoot all the black sperm.
And in the wake of LowTierGod's comments about Sero, he was permanently banned from EVO. Now this is kind of a side note, but not only was Sero also banned from EVO over using slurs, but the aforementioned Giddy was also banned for multiple instances of sexual misconduct, including soliciting unwarranted lesbian orgies. The LowTierGod curse appears to be at work.
You are a worthless bitch-ass nigga.
Before the year ended, yet another clip from LowTierGod streams went viral, now sitting at well over 1 million views.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flop my BBC out on the table when your mom invites me over for dinner. I'm gonna be like, now suck it in front of your son. She's like, I'm sorry, I just can't help it. It's so flavorful.
Now that he had been deprived of one of the few joys left in his life, LowTierGod went right back to harassing June the King, which June then posted. Just so you know, I'm coming for you legally. Because of your documentary, it has caused people to be dialed into my life beyond levels you could ever fathom. I warned you when the video dropped, you were doing too much. Your video has caused endless harassment on personal levels, and I'm coming for you legally. Just know that. Whatever you made off me, I'm taking from you. I will be the one that does not allow you to profit off others at your cowardly leisure. You are a talentless, faceless worm. Now, that promise of a lawsuit continued to be an empty threat, but Dale did file a trademark for the LowTierGod brand in January of 2021, which unfortunately exposed his real name, which is kind of a backfire since he wanted to keep it a secret. While he failed to take down June the King's documentary, he did succeed in striking 3 people who uploaded videos that were critical of him, as well as re-uploads of his stream's highlights. All 3 of those people went on to be interviewed by June in his follow-up video, where it was revealed that LowTierGod had actually doxed their real names and locations.
This is what a troll's house looks like. This is what a tier sexual's house look like.
By this point, people were becoming aware of how insane LowTierGod was. While June's follow-up didn't get as many views as his first video, it still got well over 1 million and introduced hundreds of thousands of people to how insane LowTierGod was if you got on his radar. However, the most scathing part of it all was the information revealed about his ex-girlfriend, Elena. It seemed like they were on good terms since the breakup, even having her take part in his content every once in a while. In a mukbang the two did together, he continued to talk about her very positively, saying she's beautiful, among a lot of other compliments, which a lot of people took to mean that she was the one who broke up with him, and he still wanted them to be together. But his tone changed radically in November 2020, when rumors began spreading that Elena had begun seeing her personal trainer, known as Mr. HBC. When these rumors were confirmed, Dale proceeded to private his main Twitter account and seethe on his alt about the two of them being together, calling her new man an old head. Despite him repeatedly claiming not to care, he continued to occasionally maul about their relationship for the next 2 months.
Everything after me is a complete downgrade in the first place. It's been a pattern in my life, and it's going to continuously be the pattern. The only way you can upgrade after me is you got to get yourself a ball player, somebody from the NFL, you know, some professional something, an actor something.
Eventually, someone sent images of Elena and Mr. HBC boarding a private plane, which LowTierGod shot down by saying that's what fake rich people do to flex on social media, and that anyone could do that if they really wanted to. But the flight that Elena and HBC were boarding apparently cost 15 grand, and I don't think that just anyone could do that. Could be wrong, but I don't think so. Now, Dale obviously could have just chosen to not acknowledge the trolls who were messing with him. He could have just ignored all of this, but obviously he is LowTierGod, so he's not going to, and as a result, the couple noticed what he was saying and decided to respond to him, calling him an obsessed weirdo with nothing better to do.
And don't worry, one day we'll address that weirdo ass.
Oh! Should we address it now? Huh? No, I might make a video on that, but we'll see.
In the same video, Elena also said that both HBC and Dale are the same age, and HBC was born in 1984, further reinforcing that LowTierGod was older than he claimed to be. But if these controversies weren't enough, in May of 2021, he once again found himself in hot water, this time for laughing while watching an infamous shock video where a man brutally takes his own life. Now, you can probably see how this upset some people, while others fell on the side of, well, it's just a shock video, and he probably didn't expect what was coming. It's not like he's encouraging that kind of behavior. He's just laughing at a crazy video. But Dale felt the need to respond, and to excuse it, he said that he shouldn't be expected to show remorse when trolls don't show remorse for doxing him 24/7.
Get mad because I didn't show remorse, but these don't show remorse when they keep doxing me 24/7, stealing from me 24/7, trying to pry into my personal life 24/7, antagonizing me 24/7, stalking me 24/7, stealing from me 24/7. We're just gonna keep it at that.
He then said that because he never showed the video he was watching, he could have been laughing at anything else, like an episode of Tom and Jerry.
All I did was listen to audio and laugh. I could have been listening to everything. I could have been laughing at Tom and Jerry.
Proceeding to claim that that's what he was actually laughing at. Now, I won't play the original video of Dale reacting here, since you can hear the video sound, but I think it's pretty clear that that is what he was laughing at, and at this point, he would probably be better off just admitting that he laughed at the video, rather than continually denying it. Around the same time, another clip of him also went viral, this time consisting of him responding to someone who said he looked like he worked at Pizza Hut, with LowTierGod at a moment's notice going on to write sexual fanfiction of himself with the chat member's mother.
That's all I can really do, and I submit, and I just bust infinite hot loads of matrix juice right down her mother.
This drama haunted him for months, with a back and forth between him and a creator going by Demigod Production, who had heavily criticized him on his channel. He eventually even challenged him to a boxing match, which ultimately backfired as every previous instance of LowTierGod backing out of a fight came to light.
Can you afford 10 racks to put up the fight? I'll put up 10 racks tomorrow.
Bouncing as they run across the golden field of wheat.
When Demigod streamed, LowTierGod started flaming him in the chat, but repeatedly refused to get on a Discord call with him to hash it out.
No, let's talk about it, Dale. Let's get on Discord and talk. How come you won't fight LX Dark Sniper?
The heat got so bad that LowTierGod privated his Twitter during the incident, and the idea of a fight was never brought up again. While this was mostly a battle between equals, the next person who found themselves on LowTierGod's path of destruction was a girl called Rotkill, who he attacked by posting nudes of her to his Twitter and Discord. She responded, calling him creepy and disgusting for doing what he did, and pointing out that she was 18 years old when the pictures were taken. She eventually created a GoFundMe to sue him for revenge pictures, which I assume means she sent him those pictures voluntarily at some point, but never consented to them being made public. But it's not totally clear to me what the circumstances are, as the information is pretty limited, and ultimately the lawsuit never came to be, as Rotkill vanished from all social media, while LowTierGod continued to do his usual shtick, which included dancing while streaming at work. While 2021 ended with Dale sealing up the cracks, 2022 began with them coming back, because they smelled the syrup. A YouTube account uploaded a video claiming to have evidence that LowTierGod and Elena started dating when he was 29 and she was 17. To prove it, he went back to the clip of LowTierGod unknowingly having his mic unmuted while they argued, where they both acknowledged that their anniversary is coming up. Based on an Instagram post, she had just celebrated her 25th birthday, meaning she would have been 21 in 2018, and as a result, 17 when they started dating. There were already hundreds, if not thousands, of people actively looking for dirt, but this one YouTube account was the first major instance of LowTierGod being accused of grooming or some kind of behavior with a girl that was too young for him. And it really got the attention of the rest of his detractor community, who started investigating his past. They managed to find more evidence reinforcing the narrative that he was already dating her, such as them talking about going to the movies together and ditching school to see each other other. By the way, during the same stream where they talk about this, there's also this very interesting conversation.
Toilet paper spreads E. coli.
Actually, not using toilet paper spread E. coli because when you shoot up the thing and all you poop splats in the bathtub, I've seen it before.
Well, actually, I use
it.
toilet paper to test the ass first.
I've seen it.
To test the ass first. You never seen shit in the shower.
And then he has like the shower curtain on the inside of the shower, and then you could smell it.
Now, Elena specified that their anniversary was for the day that they met, not for the day they started dating. But a lot of people had a few issues with this narrative. First off, they pointed out that who calls celebrating the day they met their anniversary? Surely there are people who do that, but anniversary is typically used as a celebration of when the relationship began. Secondly, there are only 2 jump cuts in this entire video, and one of them is conspicuously right after she mentions this, which to a lot of people looked very weird. They thought maybe something was cut out. And lastly, this mukbang video was recorded when the two were still getting along, which led a lot of people to speculate that Elena had some motivation to protect him from being seen as a bad guy. However, since they're falling out, Elena shared a post on her Instagram talking about how men who tell young women they're mature only do so because women their age see them as bums. She even subtitled it with the phrase, "Wish I knew this earlier." Now, I do have to say that as far as I can tell, she never explicitly claimed that Dale did anything wrong here, so this is really pure speculation based on the available clues that people are looking into. However unconfirmed these claims are, LowTierGod definitely does have a history of saying some very suspect things.
They said she's 16? It don't matter. She don't look 16, bruh. And plus, No Jumper posted her. So, we have something here. I want to show the glute game. I want to see what the glute game looks like. They said she's 16. Literally at the gym, I wouldn't look at her twice. She's 16.
Over the next couple of minutes, he proceeds to make very suggestive comments about the girl in question. And this isn't the only instance of Dale being like this. He's also defended none other than the certified lover boy himself.
What I think Drake is doing, right? What he's doing is he's going around grooming young women or young girls that are going to evolve into women at a certain point in time in their life. Drake has got tired of f***ing adult women who are ran through. Promiscuous adult women, I would like to say. Drake has fornicated, had sex, whatever you guys would like to call it, with numerous women. When does it give when you run into tarnished pennies over and over and over and over again? To the point where it intrigues you, where you groom something that's a little younger, you coach, you develop a woman into your liking without engaging in any type of sexual contact, but sort of mentally grooming that woman who is untouched and untainted into the world. You ever just took a dirty penny and tossed it away, and then you see a shiny penny and you want to keep it and you want to save it? That's how Drake feels about women that are tarnished. Most women that you run into are going to be tarnished pennies. It is very rare to see in general a penny that is brand new. Most pennies you see are dirty, ugly, disgusting. You see them on the floor, you kick them. Drake got tired of dealing with tarnished pennies, tossed them away, said, you know what, I want that one shiny, brand new penny, and I'm gonna keep that in my pocket for 4+ years if I have to. And then when that penny is at its prime age or prime date, I'm going to take that penny and cherish it. Now, if you did not understand that, I feel sorry for your brain. I feel sorry for your IQ. I feel sorry for your non-thinking outside the box mentality. But then again, I can't blame you because 95% of humans on the planet Earth do not think outside the box, which is why you were labeled weird for something as simple as believing in extraterrestrial life.
He sounds pretty familiar with the concept, I'll give him that. He's a historian. In March, a kawaii edit of his infamous speech was uploaded, which now sits at almost 3.5 million views and is just really funny. But it's also yet another example of how much the LowTierGod brand had improved in visibility. He was actually building a lot of momentum. Unfortunately, after months of enjoying the increased popularity he'd gotten, in December of 2022, he was banned from YouTube because he streamed on his second channel while his main channel had a strike, which is against the terms of service. He was apparently unaware of this rule and tried to get his channel back, and while that didn't happen, he did retweet all of the supportive comments from people who were pushing for him to be freed. During the campaign, someone even hacked British news presenter Piers Morgan's Twitter account and said, "Shout out my boy LowTierGod, also known as Dale. He turned 38 last month. I hope you get your channel back, bro, so you can go back to begging kids for money." The hacker also brought up a few embarrassing clips of his, such as the one where he talks about urinating in bottles.
Sorry, but I'm still pissing in bottles, guys. Since you're obsessed with me urinating in bottles, yes, to answer your question, yes, I still f***ing piss in bottles.
Apparently, he does this because he dislikes how much the liquid splashes around when you do it into a toilet. I don't really know why this is the solution, but you know what, to each their own. Now, since we're on the topic of his Twitter, it's only fair that I show you a couple of his bangers, such as his reaction to Zendaya, someone he's been known to simp for, being with Tom Holland, which he called a bad genetic match. And another highlight, he replied to a woman who said that most men are bad in bed, to which he said, a lot of women's box is foul, so we aren't even turned on enough to care. Fact-checked and verified by true American patriots. Regardless of how much traction he got on Twitter, it didn't seem like his YouTube ban would go away anytime soon, prompting him to make an account on a website called Trovo. In the process of switching over to the platform, he also renamed all of his alt accounts on YouTube to his clothing brand's name so they would stay unbanned if he ever wanted to come back. For the time being, Dale was officially committed to Trovo streaming, where he eventually got about 2,000 followers, while at the the same time trying to ban Evade on YouTube, from repurposing old accounts to pretending to be an AI program with no cam or mic. But ultimately, nothing worked, and despite his best efforts, he never succeeded in returning. After a short while, he stopped streaming on Trovo and announced he'd be moving over to Kick. He also made an account on Rumble and started uploading videos again. And just as it started looking like LowTierGod was going to be permanently relegated to alt-tech websites getting little to no views, in March of 2023, his Twitch channel was suddenly and ceremoniously unbanned.
Through it all with proper planning, placement, and the correct space and time, here I stand. Mistakes made. Battles fought.
And at the same time, in the sphere of mainstream content creators, something interesting was happening. Corey X Kenshin and Jadeon, two very big YouTubers, made videos calling out what they perceived to be issues with injustice on their respective platforms, whether it be unfair bans or demonetizations, or even what Corey perceived to be racism from YouTube. LowTierGod chimed in and basically said that they were in too good of a position to be complaining about anything.
I really don't understand why a guy like Jadeon that is very popular, that has a huge fan base, verified on multiple platforms, gets millions of views per video, and then he has a side clip channel video and endorsements, and can still stream on YouTube, has a problem with getting banned on Twitch. I want you to sub to my premium channel, and I'm upset because Twitch still didn't ban me after I got cool with Pokimane.
And as a result, he managed to get noticed by Kai Cenat, who watched his stream, and the results were pretty interesting.
Quote unquote, whatever, like Kai Cenat probably wouldn't get blown on the front page of Twitch. Can anybody in here guess why? I don't care how lit he is. Can anybody guess why? That they wouldn't run behind
Why?
Kai Cenat to put him on the front page or acknowledge him or anything like that?
Why?
It's bad marketing. When you go in the stream, the N-word is said a million freaking times.
Okay,
Now, there were a few schools of thought on this. A lot of Kai's fans obviously agreed with him and said that he was in the right and LowTierGod was wrong. But on the other hand, interestingly, some of LowTierGod's detractors in the comments noted how Kai, to them, immediately proved his point by reacting in the way he did. Right around the same time that the drama was happening, another clip from LowTierGod streams also went viral. And although the original unedited version came out at this time, a new edit of it that came out a few months later became much, much bigger.
Mods, crush the skull, thank you.
As Deluian Sparrow was peaking in mainstream attention, Corey, who used to be a supporter of LowTierGod's, did a complete 180, claiming to have just found out about his past controversies.
I thought he was a funny streamer until some people warned me of his past. Ever since, I haven't had any correspondence with this man. Y'all wildin'. My guy, Corey Kenshin, what is wrong with you, bro?
Fast forward to March of 2023, and with this heightened visibility and all of these large content creators talking about him, a big opportunity was on the horizon. Jadeon decided to interview LowTierGod.
Why are you the way you are?
You mean, why was I the way I was?
No, you're still that way.
What gave you that depiction?
I mean, some of those clips look pretty recent. They don't seem that far away.
Now, probably because he knew how big of an audience Jadeon had, Mr. Sparrow behaved himself a lot better than usual. One example is when the controversy surrounding him laughing at a man taking his own life was brought up. Instead of making jokes about Tom and Jerry, he opted to explain that he processed the situation by laughing.
But why laugh? Why laugh?
That's the way I processed it. I processed it because he got a call with a woman that didn't want to be with him anymore, so he said fuck it and blew his dome off. So for me, the only way I could process it was to laugh. I couldn't console and feel sad for a guy that ended his life over a female.
And despite how antagonistic Jadeon was towards him, the comment section was actually widely positive, referring to Jadeon's defense of Kai Cenat as blind deriding and hailing LowTierGod as the reasonable side of the argument. From there, in September, he also got an interview with No Jumper, which was much less hostile than the one with Jadeon. They even got personal, and for the first time ever, LowTierGod willingly showed some degree of vulnerability when he discussed his own struggle with severe adult content addiction, admitting to at one point apparently jerking off 9 times in one day.
Now there's nothing that could get you to the point of having to beat off?
Maybe like, I'm trying to think if I could just think of something, like maybe sleep. Like if I just really needed sleep and I just couldn't get there no other way.
Unfortunately, this transparency and humanity was much less consistent when they started going over his online history, as LowTierGod frequently downplayed his controversies to make them seem more acceptable. But regardless of that, because of the interview with Jadeon and No Jumper, along with his Twitch being unbanned, LowTierGod was getting hundreds, if not thousands of new viewers who didn't know about the lore or didn't care because they found him entertaining. While he did also get a whole new crowd of detractors, he had so many new supporters that it didn't really matter, including a fellow Twitch streamer by the name of Rose. The two had met at TwitchCon, and ever since then, they got friendly with each other to the point that he was dedicating songs to her and serenading her on his stream.
Unforgettable, I don't need that loot. I got no need, don't wanna give up on it, don't anybody.
He also managed to convince her that he was born in 1990, leading her to defend him on stream and claim that she personally saw evidence he wasn't in his 30s.
I know his actual age. He's not 39. Okay. Like I said, all the rumors I've heard, like I said, me being groomed, him abusing me, all these things, him we're secretly dating. He's 40 years old. I've seen everything, like the real deal. Okay, I've seen proof. Dude is not. He's far from 40.
Despite how intensely his detractor community hated him and spread the word about his past misdeeds, it wasn't enough to stop his resurgence, as clip after clip of his streams went viral. Despite everything that happened, he somehow managed to resist the incessant barrage of hate he got, and after years of persistence, he was finally getting results, which culminated in early 2024 when he was invited to be at the Streamer Awards.
Brought to you by Junk Food Arcades is LowTierGod.
Why do I hear boos? I hear a lot of boos. All right, let's step up the cheers. All right, this is a big surprise. Let's get it. Let's get it.
The audience at the awards, as well as the people watching online, were equally confused as to how this happened. A guy who is as controversial as him, with as many allegations as him, somehow managed to get within the Twitch aristocracy at the biggest yearly event for streamers in the entire year. The same guy who said what he said about Broly Legs is somehow in the same room as Hassan Piker and Pokimane. Honestly, the more I think about it, that actually makes perfect sense. And while people did try to talk about what a travesty they thought it was for this to have happened, ultimately they were violently ratioed by LowTierGod, calling them a bum. But just because he was successful in keeping himself unbanned on Twitch and occasionally getting mainstream recognition, didn't mean that his detractors would rest. In March, a YouTuber called Covenant Balrog interviewed someone who claimed to be LowTierGod's former roommate. Among other, less important pieces of info, he claimed that LowTierGod owed him $600. On its own, this didn't do much, as when it made its way to the man himself,
Anybody that I was roommating with would have had to have been way before I started getting money like that. So they're most likely a broke, worthless ass nigga.
However, this did set the entire detractor community on a new quest, finding out if LowTierGod's claims of being financially well off were true or not. First, someone who had been doxxed by Dale decided to repay the favor and go to the actual apartment complex where LowTierGod apparently lived, only to find out that the apartments were state-managed low-income housing, meaning he couldn't possibly live there if he made over 50 grand a year. Then, they found his credit report, and according to that, he was 120 grand in debt with a credit score of 660. For context, 700 is considered the bare minimum for a good score. And his debt was composed of many different things. $66,000 of his debt was paying off a car loan for a 2015 Dodge Charger with a vanity plate of his fake name. While the rest of the debt was nothing to really write home about, people did find it entertaining to find out that after all these years, LowTierGod was indeed the Black DSP, over $100,000 in debt and all. But just as it seemed that the financial info dump was over, the trolls dug up something shocking. In August of 2023, LowTierGod had opened an account in the Department of Child Support. This discovery single-handedly unraveled years of secrecy, as a leak of court documents showed that not only did he have a daughter, but also a 10-year-old daughter. He had a kid all the way back in the early 2010s, and somehow, despite finding out everything else about him in the meantime, he managed to keep that out of the public eye. The genie was officially out of the bottle. Eventually, LowTierGod would address this, claiming that his debt wasn't actually debt.
Anytime you purchase something, it's gonna go on your TRW as quote-unquote debt, but it's not actual debt. It's just something that you just simply haven't paid off yet that you're making payments on.
That's not really what that means. You're still in debt if you're paying off a car loan, but regardless, this was his final word on the matter. As for his hypothetical daughter, he simply left it at saying that he was no one's dad.
I got 2 cats if you want to count that. That's cool. I am nobody's father. I promise you that.
Ever since, this has been a pretty sensitive topic for him as he's banned anyone who even came close to discussing it. For example, when someone posted a video of a 10-year-old who was believed to be his daughter on his Discord server, he got rid of it instantly. It didn't seem like the drama really affected him too much though, as he was comfortable enough to even get freaky on main.
Listen, I don't consider that a diss because I would love for a sexy ass woman to give me some lemonade. So I don't really consider that a diss. You know what I'm saying? It ain't nothing wrong with a little fetish. You know what I'm saying? What's wrong with that? Yeah, what's wrong with the woman's golden Eve nectar?
But as the various claims about Dale got bigger and bigger, it eventually got the attention of someone unexpected, his baby mama, or at least someone claiming to be his baby mama. A number of comments left by a user gave context to the story of LowTierGod's child, claiming that a picture of him holding a baby that was making the rounds wasn't of him and his daughter, as according to her, he had never even met his own child, and denied her existence altogether. Naturally, this piqued the attention of another LowTierGod hater, who interviewed this person.
I loathe every stream that he's done where he speaks about children and, oh, I'm not trying to get emotional, and when he speaks on women.
If her claims are to be trusted, she met Dale at a small party, and he slid into her DMs after she posted something about gaming. After that, they had a casual relationship that lasted about half a year, which came to a screeching halt when she got pregnant. While she refused to confirm whether or not he asked her to get an abortion, she did say that he refused to sign his daughter's birth certificate. Interestingly, when she served him papers in 2023, he signed them without a hassle, and he apparently didn't even ask for a DNA test, meaning he was well aware that the child was his.
Has it already been confirmed his age? Like,
yes.
Okay. Well, I don't want to say. That's also going to tell my age too, but I mean, I don't care. But
You don't have to tell your age.
I wasn't a teenager. I can tell you that.
Okay.
I was not a teenager.
But with all of that said, with all of the controversies, with all of the insane clips, where does that leave us? As of today, LowTierGod is still streaming on Twitch, and despite all these issues, he's more successful today than he's ever been. He's been steadily growing on Twitch for over a year, his TikTok has 200,000 followers, and he even collabed with Deji, or as I know him, Comedy Shorts Gamer, in a Tekken video in June of this year, further solidifying his foothold in mainstream gaming. However, many of his original followers have become dissatisfied with the direction of his content, claiming he's become too PG in fear of getting banned.
Guys, love yourself. That's all I gotta say. If you look in the mirror and hate yourself, love yourself. Yes, you should love yourself now. Yes, you should. Because I do.
Ultimately, it's hard to blame him since he's been banned so many times. I will say though, because of the change in spirit, a lot of people have been missing the old, lightning-eyed LowTierGod that would verbally dismantle the soul of people in his chat over anything and everything. The only question from here is, can LowTierGod maintain good behavior, or is he bound to remain forever trapped in his extremely toxic and self-defeating mindset? Ultimately, only time will tell. But until that happens, I've been Turkey Tom. Thank you very much for watching the entire story of LowTierGod, and until next time, leave me alone.